Hello, Saturday morning. Brain turned on. Thanks, Marge. I'm glad you can switch. Glad you can flip my switch from that far away. What was I going to say? Oh, big shout out to you guys who are still here with us. This is a consistency thing. This is a discipline thing, showing up, right? Now we've raised the bar a little bit because now you can't just sit here and listen. Now there's something required from you. You need to give back to the group, right? And you know what? Here's the thing. We are only as strong as the weakest one of us, right? So we're asking for pieces from each of you because we are way stronger together, and your Doreen's angle is going to be different than my angle, is going to be different than Linda's angle and Marge's, and we're all going to be different. So we want to hear what spoke to you. Did anybody have a smack upside the head moment with the discipline thing?
Martha shared a comment in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself, guys, and just share your thoughts.
I love how he talks about personality types too, though, because it will be different based on what your personality type is, right? Like, and he talks about the different kinds, and I'm the melancholic, whatever that one is. They desire to do everything perfectly. They're afraid of making mistakes. How do you motivate yourself beyond that fear? It's very like, okay, this is a good question to ask myself. How do I motivate myself that I am willing to go beyond that fear? I'm gonna mute my.
I feel like we've been talking personality types all the time. Everywhere we turn, we're talking personality types, but it's so relevant. So again, I go into the Enneagram because if I wasn't aware of how I operate in different levels of health, I can't help myself.
I truly think personality plays into everything. And you know what? It also allows you to be, who you are. And I think that's the beautiful thing about doing Plexus is it doesn't take a certain personality. It doesn't take a certain person with certain traits. It can be absolutely anyone, you know? And once you get into that understanding of this is where I work best, and this is the questions that I should be asking myself to push forward into that fear or failure. Martha says, for the successful person has the habit of doing the things that failures don't like to do. Of course, right? Like, how easy isn't it to just procrastinate when you've already once not possibly succeeded? But the art in being successful is failing over and over and over. That is the art of being successful, is to keep failing, you know? He really breaks it down so easily.
Yeah. Totally.
And then I like the part where he said to set immediate goals. I think we set lofty, big goals, right?
Yeah. I agree. And you know what? I thought, like, going back to personality types, for the longest time, I felt like because I work well with small carrots, like, if you do this, then you can have this. Here is your immediate payoff, not here's your 6 month down the road payoff. I can't work. I can try to work like that, but I'm way more effective if it's like, if you do this today, then tomorrow you can do this. If you do this in the next 5 days, you can do this on Friday. And that's part of my personality type. And so I've said this before, I thought that there was something inherently flawed in Janelle, not in my personality type. In me, I thought there was something flawed in me that made that happen, and that I needed to somehow spiritualize that out of me. Right?
And you don't need to.
I don't need to. When it becomes gluttony, yes, there's a difference. But like, it can be something like, I'm going to take my kids to my parents' house and I'm going to have half an hour in the evening by myself. Like, it doesn't have to be monetary, but it needs to be a payoff for me. Right? So I'm going to go all the way. I thought that this was interesting. In the middle of page 75, we're talking about this whole life goals are reached by setting annual goals. Annual goals are reached by reaching daily goals. Daily goals are reached by doing things which may be uncomfortable at first, but eventually become habits. Habits are powerful things. Habits turn actions into attitudes and attitudes into lifestyles. And then he goes on to say, if you want to actually grow, your focus needs to be on today. So, oh, sorry, I skipped over. You can visualize tomorrow using it as motivation to grow, but if you want to actually grow, your focus needs to be on today. We talk a lot about visualizing. We talk a lot about picture yourself on the stage. Like if emerald is your big thing, if diamond is your big thing, picture yourself there. Picture yourself holding the jewel. Picture yourself in Maui. Picture like all of those things. I find I'm really good at visualizing. I like to go to those visual places because I have a very good imagination. But it gives me that little payoff already. If I visualize it and I can see myself there, it already gives me the payoff that you would have when you actually achieve it. Marge, can you help me unpack that? I know you know what I'm saying.
You know why? Because I don't like it when Janelle does that. I truly don't, because it's not me. It doesn't motivate me. It probably more so, like we were like not even halfway into convention contest and she was talking, what dress are you buying? And I'm like, I ain't buying a dress until I know I'm going.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what that is? It's because you say to me in the last 2 weeks, you're like, I have no dress. And I'm like, you knew you were going.
No, I didn't know.
You live in the North Pole. You need to plan ahead. That's a little bit different. Anyway.
Okay, but that speaks to the differences.
Yes.
Of what motivates us, right? What is your carrot? And your daily habits, I'm like, I'm just going to keep working. We'll get there. But you know what? If there's no carrot in front of you, you never stop to take the small rewards. And then you get tired. Yeah. Right? You have to stop to take the small rewards. And like Janelle said, it might be that half an hour. Habits turn into attitudes and attitudes into lifestyles. That is huge. And so when we talk about manifesting, that is probably likely it's easier for me to manifest than what it is to visualize. And so that's probably just a little bit more of a difference in her personality.
And we're only one away on the Enneagram scale. So there's like how different that is, right?
When you're manifesting, you are speaking the things that you want to have happen. You're not using the words try, I hope. You're not using those words because that leaves the back door open for you to leave. When you say, I'm going to try, then that back door is open and you can leave if it doesn't work.
What are those words? Hope, try, wish.
Preston really breaks it down. Sheila, do you remember those? He's big on manifesting. Try and hope are big ones. Those two are very common.
Can we just take a second? Because for some people that can be a super scary word. We're not talking about manifesting in a spiritual sense. We're not talking about anything scary or crazy.
No.
If you're going down that road, come back to us.
Yeah.
Come back.
It is actually a lot simpler. There again, people overcomplicate this. Truly, like we often do, we make things hard, right? Whereas if you're manifesting something, you are speaking, okay, so your brain only believes what you tell it to. That's truly a thing. And your thoughts create your beliefs. That is just, just how the human person is wired. And when you tell yourself, I hope I'm going to make it, then you're only hoping. Your uncomfortable daily actions are not going to be there because you're only hoping, right? You're not doing the actions. When you say, I am, and you tell yourself that over and over, I am going, then you're starting to see, okay, but if I'm going, then I'm doing. Because your I am is going to start creating your actions. Whereas if you're just saying, I hope, you're just waiting for it to happen, right? There's that difference between movement and not movement.
I was just listening to Abby Kappa's new podcast. If you guys haven't been listening to this, she only has 3 episodes. I do not know why you haven't. I feel like I've talked about it in enough places. Go find it. It's amazing. So yesterday, she had a new podcast on there. And she talks about this. She's like, if you are sitting there waiting for success to happen to you, it's not gonna, right? And there have certainly been seasons in my life where I have felt like it's out of my control. And if it happens, it happens, right? But I can't live like that. I don't know if any of you guys can. Like, oh, I guess if it happens, no, I can't. So here's a piece that I'll share with you guys and be super vulnerable about. That's connected to what Marge was just talking about. I unearthed a fear that I had that was very similar to this, in that I felt like with this whole wish, hope, whatever, I felt like, and I'm not saying this to be, a lot of things have been super easy for me in life in general because of my personality type and because of my ability to just get up in front of people and talk, and I've got an interesting personality. I felt like if I tried my hardest and I did the I am and the I am going to, and I'm doing this and I'm throwing it all in, what if I come up short? But what if I hold a little bit of that back and I just go by on, what looks good and talent, and I try a little bit, but I just kind of keep going the way that I am. If I don't hit the goal, I will know I could have tried harder. I will know that there was still something left in the reserves, and it's okay because I could have done it, but I didn't give everything that I had, so I don't need to admit defeat. I told my husband that. He's like, that blows my mind because I don't think like that. I'm like, no. Sorry for you. You've got a head case of a wife. And so I'm really having to deal with that. Like, is it really okay if I put everything out there? Because I've said this to Marge before. If I don't hit my goal, it's okay. I still think that I'm okay, that I've done a good job and I'm a nice person and I can do things well, right? But what if I put all of those I am statements out there and I just, right? And I've watched Marge do this over and over and over again. And I've seen her accomplish her goals. She's way those.
But I like it's so weird how, like, just like he talks about well, he's got these points. Do you know why you want to keep improving, right? And the whole, do you know when you are supposed to improve? Like the whole everything that is brought together that actually moves your needle forward. And it happens in here, right? And so, like Janelle said, if you just absolutely put everything out there, put your head down, and then people ask, well, what does that look like? Well, it looks like taking control of your thoughts. That is number one.
Yes.
It looks like taking control of your thoughts. It looks like throwing away those, I am trying. It looks like throwing away those, I hope my team is going to work. It looks like you doing the work in here, and then showing your team how it's done. And yeah, when you start understanding of how hard it is to put yourself out there. And I think one of my biggest fears was for my team to see me fail. That is just like, but I've come to learn it's so, so important for your team to see that you fail and that you fall short every day, because that's going to keep them coming alongside of you.
And it shows how you get back up again.
Yes.
My team has watched me have to get back up again quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I love them all for the love and support that they give me.
I want to talk a little bit about Jocelyn's question. So my question is, how do you find a balance between the perfection and just do it?
And I was like, we're getting there. There's a part in here that talks about that.
But Sheila needs to talk on that, because me and Sheila have really, really been digging into the Enneagram. And we are, I don't know how biologically possible it is for her to be my child, but it happened. And God has a sense of humor. We're so very opposite, but that's why we work well together. She
For
picks
those
up
of you who
on,
haven't put this together, they are like mother daughter. Like
yes, my oldest daughter.
this is Sheila.
And so Jocelyn, Sheila is like that. And the Enneagram actually very much highlighted her level of perfection. And we always joke about this and make fun of it because literally, like Chloe has so much of that. And it's so funny to rewatch it for me because she will stand and cry if that sock isn't properly put into that boot, you know, like, and Sheila had such an incredibly high level of sensory perfectionism. And it's hard to understand when they're children, and it manifests into incredible strengths as an adult. And so I am far more the let's just work and get it done, you know? And she's like, wait, you missed a spot. And so that level of perfectionism can bring people together and make it a lot easier, actually. But Sheila, I want to talk about what Kristen showed you on how to use it better. Remember?
Yeah, that point still stands out the most to me, because I always looked at perfectionism as being a bad thing, as something to look at negatively, because oh well, I was aiming for something that wasn't even achievable, right? Like I wanted my life to be this perfect, my house was supposed to be clean, everything was supposed to line up before I could be happy. So I looked at it very negatively. And Kristen turned it around for me and she said, Sheila, if we didn't have perfectionists in the world, we wouldn't have skyscrapers, we wouldn't have bridges, we wouldn't have massive ships that can cross the ocean. We wouldn't have any of those things because those things only work because of a perfectionist. They only flow perfectly because somebody cared enough to look at every little detail. And so I don't know if there is even a balance. I think it comes with the whole part of learning how to embrace the chaos. But you have to look at the perfectionism as being a gift and something that you can bring to the table that is good, that other people may not see. Like Mom said, why we work well together. Like she comes up with these great ideas, and then I will go and smooth out the edges.
Yeah. I'm like, here's my plan. Make it look pretty. And it works well because of the details. And so Jocelyn, don't focus on that balance. Focus on where your strengths are and work from those. And then be very graceful about yourself. You know, have a lot of grace for yourself. I think once we start beating ourselves up for what we're not good at and start focusing on what we are good at, that's when you start really moving forward.
I think that part of this, though, too, that perfection can be very paralyzing in that. So this is just making me recall this. I had a coaching call this week with somebody on my team, and she's one of those people that if she had the time, she would have the perfectly curated Instagram feed. She would have everything slated in, and she would it would be a work of art. And that's just how her brain works. My brain does not work that way. It's okay. But I listened to a call, and if you guys have extra time, I'd really encourage you to look up Fallon Black's team call from last week. It is an hour long, but it's something in the title is about new six-figure earners. And she interviews lets all of her brand new diamonds, sapphires, and emeralds talk a little bit and share their journey a little bit. And Sal Eibels talks about, she says, you do not have to have a perfect Instagram feed in order to go diamond. You don't need to have it figured out. She's like, I went diamond. I don't use the same filter. It's all just my life. Like, it's just out there. And it's the concept of present over perfection. And I know that sometimes I get caught in this too, because I don't have quite as clear thought processes as somebody like Sheila. And I don't know how to get from point A to point B. I know what I want it to look like. I don't know how to get from here to here. And so in lies the paralyzing do nothingness in between. And tell me, would it be better if I had a perfect Instagram feed? Or would it be better if I and only had like 3 things on there? Or would it be better if I had a post every day and I was showing my life?
Yeah. And the bottom line is the people come for you. Your product draws them in, What you do draws them in, but the people come for you. And the sooner you are able, when he talks about putting out your why, the sooner you are able to live from that and allow that to move you forward, vulnerabilities, failures, quirks, perfectionism, everything, the more people are going to see that. I love how he says the snowstorm came through and the guy asked the waiter, do you think the roads will be clear enough in the morning to travel? And the waiter said, depends on if you're salary or commission. What drives you?
Yeah.
Salary or commission, right? There's a huge difference there, right? But what is going to get you up and stepping over your failures in the morning? It doesn't, it's not going to be failures if you're moving forward. It's going to be learning things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But those questions in the bottom of 76 and 77.
Yes.
Whoa.
I know. I am actually going to write those out. And I think visual, guys, if you're visual, write your stuff out. Write out your carrots. Because I can decide on a carrot for myself and I'll forget it in like 3 hours. Like, oh, right, no, I can't go to Starbucks right now because I told myself that if I'm consistent and I work, I can go have an iced tea at Starbucks on Friday. But I'm impulsive. And I'm like, hey, you know what? You worked for a little while today. Let's go get a Starbucks. And I'll be like, okay, let's go do that. That sounds like fun because I'm the fun seeker, right? And then I have to rein that sucker in and be like, oh, no, the Post-it on the monitor says, I can't go get a Starbucks until Friday until I have filled all of my IPA sheets. Anyway, okay, so we are at
nothing for me. That would be like,
yep.
Sorry, it's just a Post-it.
Yeah. And you know what? You got to find what works for you because there's one on my monitor that was given, like the concept is given to me by a business coach. And all it says is, stop it. I can do this. With God, all things are possible. And it was something that she wanted me to repeat to myself anytime I start to go down that road of I don't know how to get from here to here, right? It just stop it. And I have found so much freedom in that and being able to say that, like when I start to panic, I have something to say to myself and I can go on. Okay, 2 more minutes on this chapter and then we're going on.
Talk a little bit about affirmations because I think it ties into this. Affirmations. This is like 4 pages of like tons and tons of affirmations from the Preston Pugmire course, and put those in front of you. Like those, if they're in front of you, your brain will automatically read whatever is in front of it. And affirmations are a massive part of manifesting over and over. Okay, 2 more minutes.
Anybody else?
I like the page 80 on the top, the goal consciousness and the growth consciousness. Yes. That's like the measurement scale, right? You can see of where you feel that you're at.
If you guys couldn't tell, I'm really into that right now. Like being able to find outward assessment of where I'm at, like to look at somebody else's framework. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but sometimes it's like, could somebody just give me a hint? Could somebody just tell me the thing I need to know? And I find that these self-assessment moments are so good for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, does anybody have anything else to say about chapter 5?
I love how he says, I'm such a strong believer in people and human potential, not only in others, but in myself, that I don't ever want to put a lid on it by setting goals that are too small. Don't underestimate yourself. Put something scary in front of you, even if it is as much as doing a live on Facebook, even if it is as much as talking to someone that really intimidates you, and we all know those kinds of people. Me and Janelle had a conversation about this a little while ago about a certain person that she had known in her childhood. And we all have these people, literally. Do not tell me that you don't, because I know that you do. There are certain people that when you meet them, they just kind of intimidate you. And I'm not easily intimidated. I am usually the one that is told, you're so intimidating. And I'm like, why? I'm not going to hurt you.
I know, they told me that I was intimidating. And I was like,
But here's the thing. We all do have those people in our lives. And it's amazing what happens in our brain when we meet those people. And I have learned to stop and quickly self-analyze and recognize that feeling that when I'm around this certain person, why does she make me feel this way? Why am I feeling this incompetency all of a sudden? You know, and it's totally because we're allowing that person's opinion of us to absorb and tell us, oh, right, I'm not that. Actually, I'm probably just telling myself. We're playing small. We're putting a lid on ourselves. Don't do that. Stop. When you recognize that feeling, just say, no. She can be who she is. She is entitled to her opinion of me. It's none of my business what she thinks of me. And then be yourself, you know? And that is what is intimidating to people, because you are being yourself. You're allowing your security in who you are to stand strong. You're not playing small just because they have an opinion over you, right? And it's just incredibly freeing. It's so, so freeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Okay, we're moving on to the law of environment. Look at us go. Look at us covering 2 chapters in one morning. Aww.
Oh, this one was a little bit hard for me. Yeah. I have a story on this. So the law of environment: growth thrives in conductive surroundings. And this is huge in Plexus, because you know why? Because we are and Kristen's live yesterday said that people come for health results, but what they don't know, next, what they come for is the community, the culture, the relationships, the way that it brings them in, the way that sidelines bind together. Me and Janelle never would have met had it not been for Plexus, right? I probably wouldn't have met like over half of you here had it not been for Plexus. And so those relationships are hugely conductive on how you are going to be moving forward in Plexus. You're either going to pick someone that you're super comfortable with and sit there and say, well, they can do it, but we can't, because you're not wanting to push forward out of that fear zone. Or you're going to pick someone and say, holy cannoli, she can do it. How in the heck am I going to do this? And it's going to be scary. And you're going to have like moments of, oh my goodness, this is not where I like to be, right? And so I was in the process of helping, kind of thrown forward into the process of helping to open Canada when I became an Emerald, because we were right on the brink and I had just achieved Emerald, and that whole year was just focused on opening Canada. And so all of a sudden I was this jewel that had to have all this knowledge. Guys, I had no knowledge, zero, like nothing. It was sink or swim, right? And so we were in Edmonton and a whole bunch of big people came, and Marge was supposed to take them out for breakfast. I sweated bullets. What am I going to say? What do I even know? I don't know squat about bringing products into a country. And guys, you know what? I showed up that morning. I was at Sheila's house for a night, and there was stuff happening the night before. I was not mentally prepared. And so when I reached that restaurant and sat down with these people, I just said, Lord, I just have to be Marge. That's it. Take it or leave it. And you know what? They might look at me and think, wow, she's not much of a jewel. That was my negativity. I sat down and had the best breakfast ever because I was just myself. That's it. And so the best place to learn is always where others are ahead of you. Put yourself among those jewels. Do not count yourself as less. You are just as much as what any diamond is. Any diamond. You are bringing your value. You are bringing your gifts and your strengths. I don't care if you're a silver. I don't care if you're just starting. You are a person of equal value. And just because they have traveled a different journey, you know what? You deserve to be among them as well. They are just people. And it's one thing that I've learned being among jewels. There are so many jewels that don't have the emotional maturity of a silver. All that happened is more people said yes to their team. That's it. It didn't change who they were. It didn't change where they came from. It didn't change who you are if you've been working for 2 years of where you're at. It's a people business. People come, but they don't always stay. It's, lives. right? And so we can't conduct others' lives, but you need to push yourself forward and put yourself among those people, not feeling less than, but being confident in who you are. I've preached now.
That's great.
Very hard for me to do. It was super hard for me to do, and it was something that Eva has always pushed me to do. And she said, yeah, you go sit with them. You deserve to be there, you know? And we count ourselves small, and we shouldn't. We absolutely shouldn't.
No.
But that was big in this law of environment, because we can pull ourselves back and hold ourselves back, but it's not going to help you to grow.
Yep. No, I agree. And that just reminded me, I was thinking about this the other day. I followed a couple different jewels on Instagram and on Facebook, but they've been sharing some of their journeys. And I had this moment where you realize that a bunch of the jewels that are like those people, like I'm not talking about Helen and Sonia and Celeste, no, not her, but I'm talking like Brooke Hemingway and Emily Gibson and Amy Paul and Bridget Ryan and all these people. And you think that they have been around forever because that's what we're inundated with, right? And then you realize, oh wait, they started the same year I did. And 3 years ago, like I think it was what caught me was that 2 years ago, they were talking about what their finances looked like 2 years ago. And that was Trisha. They were saying, you know, what were your finances like 2 years ago? Right? And how their environment has changed because of how their thought processes and their goals have changed and all of the stuff that he talks about in this chapter. They didn't wait for, sorry, where did it go? Do you ever find that where you're like, I know there's a little nugget in here. Do not wait for a change of environment before you act, because a change of environment cause a change of environment through action. You can act upon your present environment so as to cause yourself to be transferred to a better environment.
Yes.
I love that.
That is massive. That is working from possibilities, not circumstances. Completely. You have to keep your eyes on the possibilities.
If you haven't written that down, could you write down what she just said?
When you work from circumstances, you will never proceed forward. There will always be something. There will always be something. There will always be the mom with the 5 little babies. There will always be this thing that holds you back, or the people that think that you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. There will always be, is it the lack of finances? Whatever your circumstances are, life is hard, but not because of your circumstances, but in spite of, is why you should be working from possibilities.
Yeah.
And so when you keep your eyes on the possibilities and you keep your why strong and in front of you, your circumstances are just going to be bumps in the road. Your circumstances are not going to be what's holding you back. You'll get up in the morning, you're going to look at the possibilities, and that's coming in this chapter. I loved how he said that.
And you just said a why. So can I just ask, like, did anybody in reading chapter 6 get challenged with their why?
Yes.
I'd love to hear from somebody else, not me. Did anybody get shaken up a little bit about their why? Because we always talk about a why. You need to have a why. You need to have a why to make you cry. You know, we talk about the pinnacle and the pain point of the why. You know, what's going to happen if we don't miss it.
Sonia Dudley says, you need to have a why that makes you cry, but then you got to go work.
Yeah.
That's how she says it, right? Don't just sit there and cry. You got to go work for it.
Yeah.
It's like just this fabulous mindset coach. And when she says that, you know that it's like ultimately out of love, right? But you know what? I've seen that. And I'm probably in myself as well. You create a why. You know what your possibilities are, but it seems like you keep coming up against the same wall. You know what? Maybe your why isn't broken down into small enough goals. Maybe it's not like achievable enough. Maybe it's just too lofty and you just can't see that bridge in between of my why and how to get there, right? And so when you break it down and you set your goals, okay, today my goal is to focus on who is my next ambassador. That's it. That's it. Tomorrow, my goal might be, which one of my ambassadors can I help find people to go silver? And by doing those small repeated actions is what creates those small little steps of consistency. And so when we look at how can I go gold, just like that, who is my next ambassador? Who can I help that has friends that need this?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You know,
did I just suck myself back into the other chapter?
I think you did.
I think I did. But I had wanted to talk about that. But anyway, yeah. Sorry. Yes, I did.
I like the other nugget as well, where he says, whether you are a success or a failure in life has little to do with your circumstances. It has much more to do with your choices. And so when you choose to lift above, I'm so visual, like literally, like when I think about coming up against the wall, in my brain, I don't want to see a wall. I want to see a pebble on the road, because we overcomplicate things so much. And so when I see a pebble on the road that I need to step over instead of a wall, stepping over a pebble is so much easier than coming up against a wall, right? I can't scale a wall, but I can step over a pebble. And so when I make that issue a lot smaller, and my brain says, it'll happen, anyone can step over a pebble, then you're working from your possibilities, not your circumstances.
Yep. Again, possibilities over circumstances. It talks about, and we talked about this before, assessing your current environment. And then he talks about who you're spending time with. That's number 3 on page 91. Change who you spend your time with.
That's a big one. But then we're right back to the, are you a drain or are you a hose?
Yeah.
You have to evaluate people. You have to understand and be aware of what they do to you. And you know what? It is totally okay when you're in a growth season, and I've done this quite a bit. When you're in a season of really, really hard personal growth, and you have people that every time it feels like you make one step progress, that they just pull you back, it's okay to not show up in their lives for a while. It's totally okay. Allow yourself to do that.
And some of you might be sitting in a place where you're like, everybody who is in my life, or almost everybody who's in my life on a day-to-day basis, is a drain. Everybody is sucking the life out of me. I don't have anybody who is helping me to grow. Guys, we live in my estimation, the best time for changing your environment. Because if you don't feel like the people that you talk to every day, that you have to talk to every day, I'm talking family members, people who live within your 4 walls, or people that work beside you, or whatever, you can't change some of those things. But you can create a tribe of people either like this around you, or you can find John Maxwell on Instagram, and you can follow him, and you can sit down with him every morning. You can sit down with Bob Heilig every morning. You can sit down with Rachel Hollis if that's your jam every morning. These can be your
one sentence that you said there, because that is huge. That is huge. You can create your healthy environment.
Yeah.
You can, even if you yourself are not in one. People wallow very easily. I can't, because look, right? But that's your circumstances. Totally interrupted you there.
Nope.
Sorry.
And Martha, that's exactly where I'm going. She just said so hard when those drains are your parents. Yes. However, you are allowed to put those people in a box and put them where they belong. And then you can shift your focus of importance onto the people and the environments that will fill you, so that isn't so draining. Right? He quoted Les Brown in here. Now I've got to find where he did. Do you know what quote I'm talking about?
Oh, I think so. I also love the bottom of 89, top of 90. It's so simple, just keeping those phrases in your brain. Les Brown, I know I saw it.
I know. I didn't highlight it. Oh, here. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality.
Yes.
Like,
I think
sink in for a minute.
And you know what? I want to speak on this a little bit because I think Martha's in a similar situation. Sometimes our parents are going to be the hardest because they've known you the longest, right? They know your strengths and your weaknesses. They know, I'm not going to say this negatively. It is just a combination of the relationship that you have when life happens. We grow up, we get married, we kind of stay in the same rut. All of a sudden, someone wants out of this rut. And the people that have been there the longest with you are going to say, who the heck do you think you are? Don't let that draw you back into that rut. Because you are who you are. And possibly, God is giving you a thread to lift you out of that rut. And maybe that thread is going to bring alongside a lot of other people and bless them as well. Your parents are not responsible for your reality. You have moved on. They are your parents and you love them where they are at, but they no longer have control on telling you that you need to stay there. You don't need to stay there because guess what? More than likely, you will be the one bedside caring for them. And then you will have had to be moved forward enough to be able to do that. And I think that whole perception of, like, everyone wants a good, positive relationship with family, right? Everyone wants to have that close-knit community of where these are my people, and if should something happen, this is where I would fall back on. This is my safety net, right? And when all of a sudden that safety net isn't there anymore, you're left so vulnerable that your growth becomes imminent. You have to grow because without that safety net, then you would crumble. So then the growth isn't a choice anymore. It's I have to, right? And it's incredible what happens over that span of time because all of a sudden you're growing and they're noticing, and this is like happened to us a lot. In the last 5 years, there's been so much negativity on the things that we were doing, the choices that we were making. And now those people are coming back and they're like, oh, wow. And I'm like not thrilled at all to see them. So I have to work with my perception of that, knowing that it's okay if they stay, but I moved on. And I can, with grace and compassion, say, you chose to stay, I chose to move, right?
And your expectations of them need to be realistic. That's the other thing, is you're bettering yourself. You are changing your own personal environment, but the people who are going to be in your life, regardless of the changes that you make, parents, siblings, cousins, people who live on either side of you, whatever, they may decide to come with you on the change journey. They may not. But I think that there's a shift that happens at a certain point in one's personal growth where you stop being hurt by them trying to keep you in the box you're in, and you realize that your expectations of them need to be realistic. They didn't come along on the growth journey. They didn't decide to take part in it. You cannot expect certain things from them because they're not where you're at. And it's sad because you know how much better you feel and how much things have changed for you, but you need to meet them where they're at. You don't need to diminish your growth, but can I use this? This is the best example that I can have. If you have, if your faith basis is a Christian faith basis and you are holding society to an accountability that's biblical, when they don't read the rule book, it doesn't make any sense. They don't know what rules they're following or not following or breaking or whatever. Yes, we can hold Christians to that same accountability because we're all playing by the same set of rules, but not on the other side. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I know I've experienced this too, right?
And it's different for everyone because it's relationships, it's people. But in my situation, and being the personality that I am, and I think personality, again, comes into a large part of this conversation because it'll be based upon how you react, absorb, and move forward. And so I'm an Enneagram 8. I'm the challenger. Give it to me. I can do this. That's me. But you know what? I'm also, and I've grown so much in accepting this and being okay with it, because I was the one that was told I was too bold. I was too intimidating. Don't be so loud. Don't say so much. All those things, right? All my life. And it squashed who you are. And so all of a sudden you're like lifting up and saying, your opinion doesn't change who I am. I'm going to lift out and live in my possibilities and who God designed me to be. So a big thing about being an Enneagram 8 is I protect viciously. Do not touch my babies. And my team is my babies. My family is my babies. And so I become I fight for anyone that I have just a little bit of value in. And so when people would come and I would desperately try to help them because they were in such dire need, and then if they would turn around and go and say, oh, it didn't work and she just wanted me for money, whatever things people say, it would just crush me. I had invested my heart and soul into helping these people, and that's what they do. People leave because of their own fears and because of their own insecurities, not because of you, right? And so John would say to me, Marge, you're not Jesus. And I was like, okay. Because it's my nature to reach out and protect and help, and you got this, you can do this, right? But people don't all take your offer, and parents included. And so elderly parents, I think, was probably the hardest part. And I really, really had to remove myself of that reality, because in my brain, I knew exactly what I could do to just make life so much better for them. Who doesn't want that for your parents?
Mm-hmm.
Like, out of ultimate love and sacrifice, I would have given them whatever needed to be. But I couldn't, because you know why? They're not ready to receive it. And maybe that's not in God's plans. And so I have to remove myself from the result of that, regardless of what I know, regardless of who I am, and just love them of where they are at. It has worked so much better because I'm not constantly coming up against things, right? And so when I just love them where they're at, and I give what I have of what they are ready to receive, the relationship is so much stronger. This applies to your team. This applies to your family. Just meet them where they're at. And it's crazy how much further along they come when you do that instead of coming up against it, right? I rabbit trailed big time there, but that's hugely law of environment there.
Martha, was that helpful? Here, can I unmute you? Is that okay? If I can. No, I'm pressing buttons and it's not letting me. It's saying no, she needs to unmute herself.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
It's a very, very hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And this is another one of those things where we want it so much more for them than they want it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's the opposite of payoff? That's the sacrifice to loving people well.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I totally believe that.
Yeah. I mean, would we give up being able to love people well to not have the sacrifice of it? I mean, that's a choice, but
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm so proud of us.
Couple more pages. I want to touch upon number 6 a little bit.
Okay.
Criticism. Move forward despite of criticism. Oh my goodness. That is a big one. That is such a big one. This can be absolutely paralyzing. This is probably the thing that makes most people quit their Plexus business. And then some of the situations where we have had a ton of criticism come back to someone that really wanted to do this, and the criticism came from loved ones that their opinion was very valued to them, right? And when that criticism came, they were just like, I can't do this. if this is what happens when I do this, I can't do this. And I always say, this is why you can. Because you know why?
Yeah.
That criticism only needs to be absorbed if it is correct.
Yep.
People do not know what they do not know. And so if I have learned something brand new and it's going to move me forward like crazy, and they have not learned that yet, they will probably criticize out of their fear, not yours. They will criticize from their fear of what you are doing because they're scared for you. They're not where you are. And so that criticism comes from, oh, they're scared for you. What are you doing? Have you joined a scam?
I have
They don't know what you know, right?
I have a really interesting example. I'm going to share this with you guys, and I'm going to try to talk quietly because I don't want him to hear me that I'm saying this to you. So I have a son who's 13, and his career choice is not one that is terribly where he wants to go with his career. It's not terribly popular in Canada. Now, if we were in the States, there would be huge applause for what he thinks that he wants to do. Now, he's 13. He might change his mind. But he is writing a speech for school. They're supposed to talk about where they see themselves in 10 years. And so he's decided to share this. And they had a substitute teacher yesterday. They go to a Christian school, and the substitute teacher looks at what he's writing and decides to discourage him from doing what he feels called to do. That's going to be really hard. It's going to cause, that's a huge sacrifice. You're going to have to learn a lot of discipline. And he was like, ouch. On that one, I had to laugh about that. I'm like, did you say that? But it made that person uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That somebody would choose that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a horrible example, but a good one, of how other people feel and how they try to project what they think is right for you on you to change your path because you're making them uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it starts so young. It starts so young. Like the top sentence, growth always comes from taking action, and taking action almost always brings criticism. And I think one of the very first things that I learned, especially in the situation that I had when I started here, Kristen was so blunt with me. Like if I hadn't been a little bit of a hard-shelled person, probably I wouldn't have taken it. But a lot of those things have stayed with me so well. She said, well, Marge, if you're getting criticized, it means you're doing something right. Oh, well, now that's a different way to think about things. It means you're making a change. Not everybody can do that because you're strong enough to do that. And I hated being told that I was strong. And it's weird how when Janelle says she feels like her life has been pretty easy sometimes, right? Like nothing massive has happened. And I feel like sometimes on the other hand, not that massive things have happened, but life hasn't been easy at all. Hardly ever, right? And so when people said, well, Marge, you're strong. Oh, I did not want to hear that. I don't always want to be the only one that's strong. Can someone else not be strong today? Like maybe I'm tired of being strong. But you know what? Moving forward and taking action and being willing to take that criticism is what builds you to be who you need to be. Who we need to be is what's going to be moving us forward, else I would still be there.
Exactly.
And so
I think of like for us, right? I mean, for those of you guys who don't know, we have spoken out that we are trying for Emerald 3 times. And that's hard to put out there, number 1, and it's hard to come back from, number 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And to keep showing up.
And sorry, go ahead.
Nope. It's all just going to tumble out of my brain. So you go.
I think the largest part, and this is probably what I've learned so much, is the loudest criticism will come from the people with the biggest fears. Their fears are projected onto you because of what you are doing. And so when you take that criticism, and now I visualize this, so I'm getting criticized, and so I'm very easily a reactor, whereas John is like, I'll take that statement and I'll chew on it for 3 weeks and I'll tell you in a month what I think about that. And I'm like chomping at the bit, I react, whereas he chews, thinks, analyzes, and then responds, right? And so I've really, really learned to pull back, to look at that statement and say, so what does this say about them? What does this say about them? Right? And so when you take the statement and you don't put it in you, you visualize yourself as holding that statement of criticism and then look at it and think, that's really more about her than what it is about me. That's more about them than what it is about us. So why would she feel like saying that mattered? Or why did she feel that she needed to tell me that? Because it's hurting her and she needs to get it out. She needs to say these things because guess what? Marge is wrong and I'm right. I have no desire to prove that I'm right. I don't need to. I just need to keep moving forward in my growth. And if it makes her uncomfortable in the back there, that's okay. She can stay there. But water off a duck's back, literally.
Yeah.
Visualize that. That criticism, those words, let it wash off. You do not need to absorb that. Absorbing that makes you sick. It makes you toxic. It makes you immobile. It paralyzes you. Hold it in front of you, analyze it, and then just let it wash off. Yeah. But another thing is sometimes we have to take constructive criticism. Sometimes we have to take these things that are, maybe I do need to look at this. You're the judge of that. You will know.
Yeah.
Very good.
The reason I was saying what I said before, I had a squirrel moment. I just took my Metaburn about 20 minutes ago. It's very important for when I'm on calls like this. I'm going through the journey that I'm going through, just like all of us are, because somebody else needs to see it who's going to come across your path in the future. Your team needs to see what you're going through right now. You need to grow through this so that you can help somebody else grow through the same thing. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And you need sidelines who are growing on their side. I need Marge so that she's growing through her stuff and we're stronger together, because I can be like, oh, hey, I haven't grown through that because it hasn't been my circumstance, but my friend has. Let's plug you in together. I just wanted to read for everyone who's listening later. Tracy just said, getting criticism has been a huge obstacle for me. That's a great shift in perspective. Realizing that most of the criticism I've received is likely due to other people's lack of growth and their own fears has been huge for me. Completely. This is something that I shared yesterday. When you finally learn that a person's behavior has more to do with their own internal struggle than it ever did with you, learn grace. And I feel like and my kids know this, I'm always the one that says, have grace. Have grace. I don't care where that person came from. You don't know their story. You don't know what road they walked. Do not judge where they're from, who their parents are. Have grace. That could be you. Yeah. That could be you, And so when you learn to understand that comes from their own internal struggle, now, when I get that criticism, I feel more sad for that person than I ever would absorb the words of what they are saying. Because it just shows me of where they still are. They're still there, that they feel that they have to lash out at someone else in order to make themselves feel better. That's such a hard life to live. Why not just have some grace and say, I'm sorry you feel that way. I cannot take what you are giving me because I don't feel that it applies to my life. Possibly we can just agree to disagree. Here's another piece of that too. If there's something that is convicting you that has been said somewhere, and you decide to react in anger. The question is, why did it make you so angry?
Mm-hmm.
And was it said directly at you? Is this something that's just convicting you because you need to work on it? Or like,
That's a really good point.
yeah, I know for myself now, and this is the difference. Again, talking about Fallon Black's call, again and again, they talked about you need to be coachable. I was coachable. I was, they talked about that's how they reached success. They were coachable. So if you have a coachable attitude, you're never going to take something that a leader says in a large forum or an individual situation to heart and let it crush you. Right? This is going to be a tool to grow you. It's like, oh, that's really striking a chord with me. Why?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do I need to grow through in order to get, and why was this, out of all of the stuff that was said today, why was this the thing that kind of took my knees out from underneath me? Why did that hit me so hard? Okay, let's look at that. Reacting in anger towards someone who is trying to coach you in love, that's a personal growth issue that you need to move through.
Mm-hmm.
So there was something really quickly, and now I can't find it, and I'm sorry. But I really, again, page 99, it's got some questions here, just kind of recaps. But he talked about the ends of two of the other chapters. He referred to it to go back and look at. So, yeah, I don't know where that went.
Go to the top of 98 for just a second.
Okay, I'll look and you go to 98.
Sure. You are leaving an environment where growth is a priority and people are encouraged and expected to develop. That should say you have joined Plexus to be in an environment where growth is a priority and people are encouraged and expected to develop. That's what we should say when people join. I was like, that is like 1,000% Plexus, because when you come into a community and you have abundant-minded people, you will not think like them right away. I'm still not thinking like a diamond because I'm not a diamond, but I sure want to. And so I want to be coachable to grow into that environment, because that is what's going to be pulling me forward and not allowing me to fall backwards, right? And so I think when he says, and you'll have to work extra hard to keep growing, there is so much value to that. Do not think that you cannot grow personally. Anyone can. Anyone can. And it's just projecting yourself forward into those environments, making those choices to protect yourself of what hurts you and pulls you back. And guess what? It's not a straight line up. It's really crooked and it pulls you back, falls you down. As long as you get back up, that's what matters.
Well, it's like you were saying before. Like, yeah. We need to stop. We could just keep on talking and ranting and doing all the things, but yeah, it's like Marge was saying before. It's just as easy to read 10 pages a day for your personal growth as it is difficult to do it.
I love the analogy. Yeah,
she said it. Rewind the tape.
I like the analogies. Like there's such simplicity in when he says the right soil to grow in, what nourishes me. Be very honest with yourself. Be very honest with yourself. And I have been in some of these situations, like same as he says, like experiences. What experiences rejuvenate me? What people encourage me? What activities revive me? It's not just all about you, but it's about you becoming stronger, that you don't need to fall back into that pit of where it pulls you backwards, right? And so the purpose, what sustains me, the people, significant growth will not occur in your life if you are not continually challenged in your environment.
Yes.
It is all about challenge, right? And so, I don't know, that law of environment was so massive to me. I feel like every chapter is like, boom, and there's so much to be applied, but I think I should say this: have a lot of grace for yourself. Like, honestly, please do not beat yourself down. That is just going to pull yourself backward. Be graceful, get up in the morning with a purpose, speak what you want to manifest, and give yourself compassion. Like, be graceful to yourself, because you will move forward so much easier than if you're criticizing yourself.
And I will add something to that. Take your thoughts captive. If you start to be critical of yourself, or you start to think things that are not, oh wow, like I think I need a nap. Like the words are just getting stuck right about here. The brain, mouth is not, do you see? They're like, there's a jumble right there. Conducive, that's the word I'm looking for. If your thoughts are not conducive to growth and positivity, you need to grab them, call them out for what they are, and tell them to take a hike.
Yeah. And change your environment if you're in that and you feel yourself sinking. Leave if you need to. Go do something else if you need to change that direction. What's Kristen's thing? She says if she found herself thinking, oh my goodness, this is, and then all those negative thoughts start happening, she would say, oh my, what's the color of the paint on that wall? Oh, I really like that picture. My, it's a nice clear blue sky outside. Totally remove yourself from those thoughts. Do not allow them to sink in and fester and grow, because if you put them in the soil, they will grow. Remove them, right? Think of something completely different and then move forward into the positivity.
I found what I was looking for.
Okay.
I love that. Review your answers to the questions at the end of the Law of Awareness and the Law of Consistency chapters. Use them to develop a purpose statement for your life. Don't expect it to be perfect or permanent. It will probably continue to grow and change as you do, but it will give you a stronger sense of direction now. So that's on page 100. Page 100, right in the smack dab in the center.
Okay, that's, yeah.
Yeah, but I love that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Great job. Next week, chapter 7, chapter 8. Now that you know that we're going to start picking on you,
come with thoughts.
Come with your own thoughts. Because, yeah, that would be great.
What are we doing about convention?
I think we're probably going to have to skip because you're just getting home and I'm still there. Well, I mean, I could technically.
Yeah, because the 15th and the 22nd, I will not be home.
15th, I'm around. We'll figure it out and let you know.
Well, if I'm at Sheila's house on the 15th, we might possibly just do it from there.
Yep.
So I'm not going to, and then the 22nd we'll chat about.
Sounds great. All right. Okay. Have a great day, guys. Love to hear more of your takeaways in our chat. See you.
See you later.